Okay, excellent.
Set.
All set? Great, thanks. Good morning. This is a convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, and we are holding this meeting virtually. So I will perform our roll call. I know that we have one commissioner who I hope is enjoying nice weather on vacation. We'll start with Commissioner O'Brien. Good morning.
Yeah, that is not me. I am here.
That is, well, as I said, it's still 51, just a little damp. Commissioner Hill, good morning.
Nor is it I. I am here.
And Commissioner Skinner, good morning.
Good morning.
And so Commissioner Maynard is on a well-deserved vacation. And I am here as well, having outlived last night's storm. So we'll get started. Today is January 10th. It's one of our agenda setting meetings, public meeting 160. We have no minutes today, given Commissioner Maynard's absence, so we will go right to our planning. As you can see, we have our schedule, which is really just following the cadence that every 2 weeks, there's a possibility that we might need to add a few special meetings in between, and we'll just work with Trudy to make sure those meetings work for all of you. We'll get started on January 18th. Next Thursday, we'll be meeting, and we have a full schedule. Todd, we have at least, I know Carrie, we anticipate for, there she is, for cashless wagering as an administrative update.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, so Carrie will be ready to do that. The other thing that we postponed from last meeting was a discussion about the lease, but I think that should just be a standalone item and not under the administrative update, if that's okay. I think we may propose that an executive session be contemplated for that date as well to discuss the lease.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I didn't have anything else.
Great. Then we'll turn right to minutes, and I thank Judy. She has another meeting this morning, but she did pass along the dates for the minutes that are expected for the January 18th. And there's a bunch of them: March 23rd, April 13th, April 25th, May 4th, and May 8th, all of 2023. So I'll make sure to include those in our notes. Trudy, I know you have that as well. Turning then to legislative matters, and Brad, thank you for rolling it over to today for January 18th. We'll make sure to be very specific on the agenda.
Yep.
And the plan will be to present that draft again, Todd and Brad. I know that you discussed that there was some feedback, and I think we present that at the meeting on January 18th. And then we would revise and then decide whether or not the commission will decide whether or not we can just release or revisit. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay. We got some regs, Todd?
We do. There's actually a couple of adjustments we'd like to make to that list. And Carrie, if I can just ask you to jump in on that one, if you will. Just,
yeah, of course. Of course. Good morning, everyone. So we will be all set on 205 CMR 152. And then 205 CMR 2.0, I think that's just a typo here. That's supposed to be 205 CMR 16, the simulcast reg coming for initial review. That will be ready as well. And then on 205.
And you said it's 15, not 16, right?
Simulcast is 16, right, Justin?
Oh, so, okay, because yesterday we heard 215. All right, so it's 216 and it's simulcast, not
just 16, not 216. 205 CMR 16.
Correct. It's 205 CMR 16.
okay. Thank you. And then Justin, if you could just send me the exact language, we'll get it right on the agenda, or Carrie, either one. Okay.
Yep, of course. And then 205 CMR 257, we're still just working on some internal discussions. So I'd ask if we could move that to the February 1st meeting.
Okay. So we'd only have 152 and 216. I probably did it, yeah, probably am doing exactly this, like, but, and I know 2.00 became 215. So I think I'm sorry for that.
Oh, no problem.
And then-
We do have one additional regulation to add, if that's all right, to the 18th, and that would be 205 CMR 221. This is really just a cleanup change. We found a slight discrepancy in a couple of sections of regulations related to the payment of the licensing renewal fee. So we just want to get that cleaned up.
Oh, okay. That's great. Anything else, Carrie?
That's all for the 18th for regulations.
Okay, and then, good morning again, Bruce. We're turning to the fanatics, and probably it's a combination of Caitlin and Bruce on the fanatics matter.
I think, oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Bruce.
we'll be ready for that.
So this, where we are with this is, this is a potential non-compliance event regarding fanatics related to unauthorized wagers, which has been referred from sports wagering to IEB. So IEB will be making its presentation of its non-compliance review report at the meeting on the 18th. That's that short 2-pager that the IEB gives to the commission, and then the commission can decide how it wants to move forward with that matter.
Caitlin, I want you to conserve your voice.
I'm trying.
But while we're on this non-compliance matter, I know that you and I discussed that there's a possibility of another non-compliance matter. Will that be ready for January 18th as well?
So there are actually a number of non-compliance matters in this phase coming down the road to you. There is going to be another matter related to fanatics, different situation, but similar facts. Fanatics has expressed interest in potentially either combining them into one matter or having if the commission decides to hold adjudicatory hearings, sort of doing them on the same day. That won't be ready on the 18th. It hasn't officially been referred to IEB yet, but it could be ready by probably the 1st.
Okay, but we would go ahead with the, do you want to hold then on the earlier one?
We could hold the first fanatics and do both of them on the 1st. I will say we have several other non-compliance matters that are likely to be ready for the 1st. It's up to the commission if you'd like to just hear it on the 18th or if you'd like to wait to the 1st. We're fine either way.
Before, I know Commissioner O'Brien, you're going to weigh in, but I'm just wondering, is there another one that I know that there's some degree of urgency? Will that be ready for January 18th?
That will be ready. So there's another number. There's going to be a lot of them. We're going to have to number them, I think. There's one related to MGM or BetMGM apologies related to unauthorized wagers on college players that is likely to take a little bit of time. That will be ready for the 1st.
Oh, okay. That was the one I was thinking of. Commissioner O'Brien.
My preference would be to keep the introductory presentation on the 18th. If we've got a number of them coming on the 1st, especially if there's a request to have them combined, I'd kind of be able to digest the first one before I hear about the second one in terms of figuring out whether they should be.
I should have the other fanatics one to you this afternoon.
Great.
So
Great.
it should be good.
To Caitlin, so I think Commissioner O'Brien is suggesting that she wants to proceed, even though there's a request to kind of double them by fanatics, to perhaps have the first one come in to set the stage for us. Bruce, I'm not, and I think that that's already, I'm not sure if Caitlin's saying that the second one, if he gave it to you today, would you be ready to have the second one for the 1st anyway? I mean, for the 18th anyway?
I don't think we can have the second for the 18th, but we could have it for the 1st. And I think to Commissioner O'Brien's point, you could review the first one on the 18th, get a sense of what you want to do, and then on the 1st, hear the second one. And at that point, you can decide if you want to hear them together or separately,
Okay.
if that's the road you go down.
Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Skinner, you want to weigh in? Okay with that? All right. That's the way we'll proceed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I think we probably do need to figure out how we're going to keep track of these. Caitlin, because as I start to work on even the agenda setting agenda, I'll need to have some kind of language. So
I
as no
agree,
matter,
yeah.
you and I can work that out Okay,
Yeah, we can work on language and we can work on, I think, a tracker for the commission so that you know what's coming and the stage it's at. Because as we said, Bruce has alerted us that there may be a number of them coming down the pike. And apologies for my voice today. If at some point I can't keep talking, Kathleen is here to back me up. So
okay, great.
So
Thank
we
you. I'm
could do
sorry.
something like akin to a docket number, right? Like
Yes.
2024 SW and then just sequential as they come in.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll work on developing that. Then we have the 90-day sports wagering audit. Bruce
Yes,
and Christian.
that's finally ready. Yes.
So I've got down a whole group, and will all of you be presenting?
Yeah, so mostly be Christian in this, as it's mostly an IT type report, and I believe it involves some closed session with it as well.
Yeah, so it would be a combination of Christian and myself, and I'm not sure if Todd had mentioned this earlier in the last agenda setting or not, but we would require an executive session to evaluate in detail specificities regarding the security audits as due to the proprietary nature and the security of those reports.
So if we're anticipating an executive session, Todd, we'll need to go over that and get the language. I'll need to have the title. We had not heard any need for an executive session till right now. So if you, Todd and Katrina, Bruce, Christian, if you could just coordinate and get back to me on what we are likely needing. It's getting to be a busy meeting.
Yes, we will certainly take care of that, Madam Chair. And if I could ask, we can actually swap me out for Justin, who is going to offer the legal counsel on that.
Okay, great. All right. How long do we think that discussion is going to go?
Well, how many are there, Katrina, exactly? Is it, how many are ready to go?
There's, off the top of my head, I think there's 11 or 12, but I think it depends on the level of detail. So the summary memo, Justin is evaluating our memo right now. So we should have that ready for the packet. That's very high level and our high level findings. If we wanted to go into more detail regarding the specifics, it entirely depends on the commissioner questions. But for us, just presenting the data, it shouldn't be more than 20 minutes.
Okay. And that's in both public and executive session.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, great, thanks. It's not a 90-day presentation. Thank you. Let me turn to what I know is a comprehensive presentation from IEB, and Kathleen and Caitlin are here. I want to just also express my thanks to GEU, to Monica Chang in Finance Division, and then of course Kara's division, the licensing division, because they're all working to help us be reminded of this process. So Caitlin, what have you got in mind?
Yes, so on the 18th, we are looking forward to making a presentation regarding durable suitability, and that's going to include an overview of the IEB's process for investigating durable suitability and also a timeline for durable suitability for the temporary licensees. Because this is all related to investigations, and it's not something that should be in the public domain, we're going to ask for an executive session for this. And happy to talk about that if you have any questions.
Yeah, as long as it's a permissible executive session, we always like to do as much as we can in public.
Of course. Yeah.
And in this case, it would compromise how we actually do these extensive durable suitability investigations. So it should be an appropriate executive session. Todd, correct?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. So we'll obviously take a closer look at that, but that's right.
So I'll need that language too from you. Todd and Caitlin. Thanks so much.
Yes.
So now, number 8 is the policy that I know Director Ban probably needs sooner than later, probably yesterday, if I'm guessing right,
Correct.
to really manage what we're looking at is that kind of, not in terms of import, but just the lower threshold non-compliance matters that can more routinely be addressed by the sports wagering division, legal division. We understand the sports wagering division is completely integrated. So you are turning to everybody who can help you. And that I know is very a deep bench, IT, legal, IEB, Bruce, and of course your wonderful group. So Caitlin, I know that you've been working on this.
Yes, this has been a team effort. We do have a new draft just for the Group 1 matters. We'll circulate that to the commissioners today, so you can start taking a look at that, but that will be ready for the 18th.
Right, and then we'll tackle the higher threshold ones next round, just because this will get done. I think what is probably going to be a little bit more straightforward discussion. I could be wrong. Okay.
And, Madam Chair, can I just jump in for 1 second, please? I meant to say this before we went through this list, but if I might, just a reminder to everybody that we need to make sure we get the materials over to Trudy and the chair for any of these matters on for the 18th by tomorrow or Friday, depending upon whether there'll be voting requested or what have you. And if I don't know if any, we've gone through this a little bit in the past, so I think all these materials will be ready. But just in the event that anyone will not be able to have materials by the end of the week, if you could just let us know, that would be helpful. But I think as for the ones we just talked about, they will be ready to go.
Madam Chair, can I jump
Yes.
in as well?
Sure.
In addition to sending them to the chair and Trudy, I'm also requesting that they also be sent directly to me as well. Thank you.
And just so you know why they're sent to me and Trudy is because Trudy develops the package and I develop the agenda, and that works. I think, Trudy, you keep all the materials in the SharePoint file.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Commissioner Skinner, it's not to avoid sending them to you. It's mainly a matter of email.
I
Because
understand that. Yep, I understand that. My request is simply to accommodate my work style. That's all.
That's fine. I just wanted other commissioners to understand it's mainly because of the emails. We don't want the commissioners to lose track of materials. So, okay, but if, for those of like Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Maynard, Commissioner O'Brien, they are, of course, in our SharePoint file as well. Okay. Item number 9. And then, of course, if it gets changed, Trudy, you'll need to update Commissioner Skinner too. Okay.
So I could. I'm sorry. I could be happy to take that one. We're
just
preparing.
one correction. I believe Commissioner Skinner brought this forward, so I'm going to turn to her. And then Todd, you added language.
This number 9, Madam Chair. Number 9.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a request of that I made of staff to present, and I think that will happen, or Todd is proposing that it happen through him at our next meeting on the 18th.
Okay. Thanks,
So
Todd.
I don't plan to present at all, although I'm happy to be involved as Todd and the rest of the team sees fit. Pre-January 18th.
Todd?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Happy to take you up on that offer. We're actually in the process of preparing a memo, and we'll have that over to you all by the end of the week that outlines a proposal to address this particular issue.
And we'll have all 3 of you presenting on that.
Yes, that's the plan. Absolutely.
Okay. And if you could just give me the exact language, Todd, so that we're good and specific on the agenda, that'd be great.
Yep.
Thanks. Quite a long meeting, guys. Now we're turning to Dr. Andrews and a report that we're looking forward to on public safety. Bonnie, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we're all set to present that on the 18th.
Okay. And do you have outside presenters, Bonnie?
Yes, it'll be Dr. Noah Fritz from Justice Research Associates.
Would you mind sending me the blurb?
Absolutely.
And what you want it to be entitled, et cetera, so we get it just right. Thanks. And then
Absolutely.
we do have the lease on for our planning purposes, Todd. Remember, we inserted it because I know that would include an executive session. I think the trick for this meeting will be figuring out if we need to do the executive sessions kind of some in the middle of the meeting versus waiting to the end. So I'm going to give that some thought. But right now we have
Chair, I hate to interject with something that you may want on this meeting, but it's okay if we move it. But that when Matter was supposed to come back for this meeting, the request to evaluate actually all of the customer service and phone lines and web chat.
yeah. So that's a new matter, but it's not an executive session. I was just going back to look at the numbers.
Oh no, sorry. I just
Sorry. I
another
paused.
meeting item.
I paused. My apologies. I was just
No
thinking.
problem.
But so all right. So no, I thought Crystal, thank you. Can we just hold and I'll just get through?
Of course.
I think you're absolutely right. So 101 Federal Street lease that will require an executive session. We'll probably do that at the end, just so Mary Ann and Eric can plan. And then Mark, you have the player risk identification and response. Do you think you'll be ready for that? I know you were wondering about whether you're prepared to go forward on that.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I'm very close, but I am a little nervous that I won't have the materials ready. So my preference would be to move that to February 1st.
That would be 3 reports from your division on February 1st. Okay.
That's a lot. We'll be prepared.
Okay, now Crystal's item. Thank you, Crystal. I'm sorry that I did not include that. My apology.
Okay, we can leave it if you want. We can take more time. And honestly, it's really up to what you guys want. I just know that it was mentioned on the last meeting that we would move it to the next, but if you wanted to wait till the first, we could do that. But that is now not just a win matter. I don't know how, we'll have to work on the language, I think, but essentially the overarching question was what was promised in the applications and what is actually available to patrons now.
Crystal, do you need some more time on that? I see Bruce weighing in. Would you like some more time?
It can't hurt, but we have most of what we are going to get already prepared. So it really is just how you guys, I think I could use a little feedback from the commissioners as to how they want to see this laid out. Is an Excel sheet okay, or do you actually want details in paragraph format? It's a little hard to see comparatively, but you know, that's the last piece is the memo for you guys. So I'm pretty close to ready. It's whatever you prefer.
Bruce, I see you were going to weigh in.
I think it probably wouldn't hurt to push it back to the February 1st to give Crystal a little more time to put this up. She's got a lot on her plate right now.
Okay, and you remember the issue, commissioners? Crystal's asking for some feedback on how you might want this. If you recall, one of our operators came forward to say that they were making a change in customer services, and we realized that probably we needed to look at the entire landscape. Commissioner O'Brien.
Yeah, for me, it's more, I trust Crystal, your judgment in terms of what's the most easily digestible way to process it, right? I mean, it sounds like maybe the spreadsheet's a little better than prose, but I don't really have a preference.
It's always my personal preference, as you know. So, but I think we can. It's not that difficult. We can draw the lines in probably both manners. So.
Maybe
Um,
a quick summary in prose, Crystal, about what you're attaching, and that might put everybody at the stage for.
Exactly. Either
how's
way,
it-
I'll provide you the spreadsheet just because I think it's easy to see line by line, but certainly I'll have a memo as well.
Okay, thank
So
you.
whichever date though is, we'll let the operators know what you choose.
And you're coordinating.
Seems like if you need a little more time on this next meeting, so we're okay with it. I think, as WinBet is concerned, they just, they need an answer, but they're moving forward as they need to anyway. And in the meantime, but this is an overarching question now, so we can bring it to you whenever you're prepared to hear it.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Skinner, yeah?
Crystal, there was at the last presentation, a request for some additional information from WinBet.
Yes.
Will
have
that
that
be
for you.
available? And I understand that there's this underlying or overarching question as to all operators. So it may not be necessary to produce this the requested information. I mean, I'd like to see it still.
I do
guess-
have it for you. I've already met with them to get that.
Okay.
And I know we're meeting today, so I plan on
Yeah.
giving you some information, but I'll be including some of that in the report too. But I have
Okay.
the, at least the preliminary question that I had written down, I have for you. I think
Yeah.
it was related to the crisis, more about what calls are coming in at those hours and if any are related to crisis or BSC. So I have that.
Yeah, just want to acknowledge that there may or may not be a decision that the commission needs to make, just depending on, what the entire landscape looks like. So, but nonetheless, it's good you have that information. I'd still be looking to see that.
Director Ban, were you weighing in for Commissioner Skinner?
I didn't catch the end of her question. What's that?
I'm sorry.
Oh. So then I guess that means you aren't weighing in. I think Crystal covered it. It was really just asking for whether there would be a follow-up to include the information that was requested at the last presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, the information Commissioner Skinner requested about the calls that might be coming in late. Crystal, thank you for following up on that.
Yes.
All right. Okay, anything else, team, and just a follow up, I know that you're working too, Crystal, with Tom to make sure that our website gives as much information around customer service. And it sounds like it's going to be fluid unless we make a decision that is a set requirement. But on
all of the information that we've captured at this point will be relayed to David and Mills, and then we'll have that updated. It's pretty close to updated. And then as we would go, it would be dependent on how this conversation goes.
And so that's a really important reminder to the public, Mills. I don't know how maybe we publicize that. It's something for Dave Souza to think about, even for his newsletter, that information around customer service is always available on our website about each of our licensed operators. So that might be.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Chair. I think that the newsletter is a perfect place for that. I also think that occasional social posts reminding folks where they can find that information about all our licensees, including the casino licensees as well, is on our website. So we'll work on making sure that's integrated.
Great, thank you. Anything else for January 18th? Okay. So now we turn to February 1st, which looks so short, but it's growing. So we've got player risk identification and response that's rolled over. So we'll start with the administrative update. You'll have something, Todd, you'll keep us abreast. Is there anything in particular right now that you're planning on?
Nothing in particular at the moment.
Okay. We'll work with Jordan and Judy on minutes. Commissioner Hill, you want me to keep that in?
Sure.
Okay, we'll have it for at least right now, right? You can always let me know if you want to take it out. Will we have regs that carry? Do we know already?
The only reg that I believe we'll have is 257, the data privacy reg, which would be rolling from the 18th.
Yep. Okay, and I know we've got some IEB matters and IEB sports wagering on non-compliance. Before we get to the non-compliance matters, anything in particular for sports wagering?
Yes, Andrew will be presenting a new event for Fanatics, which will be Professional Women's Hockey League.
So that's for Fanatics.
Yes.
Okay, new event. Okay,
A great kickoff to their new season I saw the other day.
Yep.
it's exciting. Before we get to the responsible gaming division, I'll go right to Caitlin, and I'm trying to preserve your voice, and Kathleen. So we're going to roll over. We're going to or at least have the second Fanatics non-compliance matter.
Yes, our goal would be to have the second Fanatics non-compliance matter. So that's one. And again, we'll give these docket numbers so it'll be easier for future meetings. We also have two other non-compliance review reports related to BetMGM, but they are separate matters. So all in all, there would be three presentations of non-compliance review reports, two for BetMGM and one for Fanatics.
And you indicated earlier on the BetMGM that it's unauthorized wagers.
Both BetMGM, actually all three of them relate to unauthorized wagers. So.
Okay. All right, we want to commend the sports wagering division's good work and extend my appreciation for IEB's support. Caitlin stepping right into this and leading nicely, so thank you, everyone. Bruce, you've got a great group and all together.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Then we're going to have Mark's division. You'll be all set for the Play My Way report, Mark?
Yes, Dr. Michael Wall will provide a brief presentation on an evaluation of Play My Way.
Great. You'll let me know if he has any scheduling challenges, Mark. We're very
At this
excited.
point, he's confirmed right now, so I think we're okay.
But I mean at the beginning or the end, because I know
right.
Time difference. So just let me know. But I know that we look forward to hearing from him. And if you could just give me the details, that would be great. And then we've got our quarterly report on Game Sense, and Lon will be coordinating that.
Yes, I don't
Okay.
see him here, but yes, Long will be coordinating that, and they are confirmed.
Okay, and then we'll have your player risk ID and response. So 6, 7, 8. And then it's also responsible gaming related, really. Carrie, you will have given us a little bit about cashless payment in your administrative update next week. And then you're coming back with sort of how it's integrated with the responsible gaming.
That's right. We're planning to sort of give an overview on what some of the key issues are as they relate to cashless and responsible gaming, and then highlighting some ways in which certain studies and reports have suggested regulators might address some of those main issues. So really just an overview of the topic and then coming at a later date with more detailed presentations.
Okay, and then we're going to have from sports wagering, we'll have rolled over to Crystal's report too. Thanks, Carrie, that will be really interesting. I have a matter that will include an outside guest in the executive session. So I'll throw that out now. The AG's office will be updating us on February 1st on the regulation of daily fantasy sports. Its intersectionality with our regulation of sports betting and the AG's office's work underway relating to the illegal market. You know, like the gaming commission, we've been pretty vocal for really since last spring about our commitment to helping to level the playing field to ensure that our regulated entities are able to compete with the illegal market and actually exceed the illegal market. And so the AG's office wants to do an executive session and update on where its work is. And then it's my understanding that the related ISA is now back over. And Caitlin, I'll have you update that, but I think the idea would be we'd have the executive session, which would set the stage so that all commissioners are aware of what the planned work is. I know the GEU is aware of the AG's office's work as well. And then the following week, and this could go later if need be, but it would be nice if we had the February 1st setting of the stage discussion and then have the ISA presented on the 15th if everyone's ready. Caitlin, what do you think about that?
Yes, that timing should work well. And I have consulted with the AG's office regarding their availability on the 15th, and they would have availability in the noon to 1:30 window. So we would just have to, make sure it gets on our agenda at the right place, but we could mark that up for the 15th.
Yeah, just make sure to remind us of that. That'd be great. So for February 1st, it would be an executive session, and you're reminding me I probably should circle back to see if they have a particular window for that executive session too. And Todd, I think I did say to the AG's office, if it's an executive session, we want to make sure it's an executive session that your office appreciates as an executive session. So I think they're be all set on that. But I'll keep you in the loop as to what language they're using there, Todd. But they'll offer that up for us. Other matters, I've got a few others that are probably don't have to be on February 1st, but I'd like to. Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Main, I'd like to return to the mission statement that was released, and I'd like to get that done, if that makes sense. I think commissioners, we've had a chance to review it, and you would be looking, Commissioner O'Brien, for our edits at the meeting.
Yeah, if any, and then hopefully they're not voluminous, and so we could just finalize it and vote that day.
Right. But if there were some that were less cumbersome, we could discuss and then just vote.
Yep.
Does that work for you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Skinner? You'll give a heads up to Jordan. Thanks. I have another request from the GEU, and maybe we could roll this into later on the February 15th meeting. But as you know, we've had initially an executive session where we heard from all three casinos on their security plan and their screening processes. We then worked with MGM to sort of get more details with them, and Detective Lieutenant Leo would like to do the same with the other two properties. So it would be an executive session with BBC and Encore Boston Harbor to hear from them on just finalizing our understanding of those screening processes. I think we could probably do those on separate days, but that's a request out there. So I think it would be something that Caitlin, you'd coordinate to with Burke, and you're reaching out to those teams, and I'll let you coordinate that with Mike Leo.
Okay, will do.
So if it doesn't work for them, I don't think there's any time pressure. It's important to the GEU that we make sure to circle back to the other two casinos as well. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
So I apologize that I didn't raise this earlier, but I think that Commissioner Hill and Chief Muldrew and I will be ready to present recommendations for interviews before the full commission of an IEB director candidates, excuse me. And so for January 18th, if there is time on the agenda, it certainly doesn't have to happen on that day. We could push it to February 1st, but we are progressing nicely. And I think that we will be ready should there be time on the agenda for the 18th.
Commissioner Skinner, would you possibly consider a special meeting for that?
Yes,
So that-
absolutely.
I feel like that might be the most sort of civil way to do a couple of public interviews.
Well, the public interview is separate. We would like to present our recommendations for the commission, for candidates for the commission to interview. And so that could also be done in a separate meeting. It doesn't have to happen during our general public meetings. I do think it might be at least a good half hour, 45-minute discussion. Commissioner Hill, do you want to weigh in on that? I think we do need the time whenever we discuss it to fully, brief the commission on what we've seen and heard, our justification for the recommendations that we make.
Oh, okay. So I was mistaken. My understanding was that it would be to, for us to do, the commission's job, which would be ultimately the public interview. So you're imagining a two-step process?
Well, that's a good question. I have not consulted with legal counsel just yet in terms of how we should move forward in presenting these recommendations. And so I guess I'll let that be the guide, but I had envisioned a two-step process, really just presenting the recommendations to you and I'm not sure how we do that if they're not yet ready to be disclosed publicly. So I guess at the end of the day here, I think I have a little bit of homework to do in terms of how we should get this information before the commission. But I think right now, your suggestion of holding a separate meeting makes the most sense.
Okay, so we'll just stay tuned for a bit because January is next Thursday.
Yeah.
And we could, we'll wait to hear from some guidance from council. Okay, sounds
My
good.
apologies, just getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited that we'll be prepared to do this.
I have to say I'm very impressed and appreciate it. And I know that for the other three commissioners, we look forward to hearing that presentation. And we just want to get it right in terms of process on our end. So we'll stay tuned. And if you decide you do want to incorporate into January 18th, I think we can make that a priority if that's what you want. Otherwise, we can
actually, if I could inject, Madam Chair, the screening committee for the ED, we are the better part of our day, 2 days prior to the 18th meeting, are dedicated to interviews. So if there's anything that we're going to be expected to digest in advance of the 18th, I would ask that it not be on that day, because for Commissioner Maynard and I, we're going to be consumed on the 16th and the 17th with our own interviews. So I would ask that it go to a separate meeting or the first.
Okay, that makes total sense. Let me do some additional
Agreed.
homework and then come back to you with a proposal as to how to move forward.
Will we be, I appreciate Commissioner O'Brien's position completely, but will we be digesting anything? I guess that's what I'm wondering.
I don't know. There's a possibility. I don't know, for instance, if the committee is expected to prepare anything in advance for the commissioners to review. Again, the candidates have not been made public yet. And so I still need to walk through with council how that will be done. Is it going to be done at the time of the recommendation to the commission, or is it going to be done, when interviews are scheduled? There's still a lot of questions. And again, I apologize. I was, just excited to have this ready and teed up for the 18th, that, forgot that there's a large part that we have to continue to work on in terms of process. So
So we'll stay tuned. Thanks so much. And I am appreciative of the update. Thank you. Okay. All right. Turning back to February 1st. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Because I just wrote something down that I can't read. Let me see. Bear with me, everyone. My apology. Okay. Mission statement, we will include for the first. That should be pretty straightforward. We've got the non-compliance matters. 3 for the first. Anything else for the first? Okay. Then let's turn to the 15th. The ISA we talked about, but we'll go to the administrative update. I assume right now we'll just keep it placeholder.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Same with minutes, same with legislative update. Commissioner Hill? Yeah. Okay. Regulations. Carrie?
We may have a couple of regulations, but if I could add those in at a later date, that would be helpful.
Thank you. Possibly. Okay, and then sports wagering, Bruce, have you got any notice of something for that?
Nothing at this time, but probably by then we will have something.
We'll keep it on. And then, oh, I'm sorry. I think I rolled the presentation. I didn't take it off the 15th. Carrie, I repeated that. My apologies, but you prefer the first, correct?
Yeah, we'll be ready on the 1st if that works for you all.
Okay. All right. I had Commissioner Hill and I met with you, Derek, and Todd yesterday, and we talked about maybe bringing the commission up to date on procurement matters and also possibly updating the procurement policy. What are you thinking about timing, and do you want you to explain your thoughts better than I just did?
Yeah, so we talked about 2 things. One, a training on procurements to begin with. So 801 CMR 21 or what the commissioner adopted at the beginning, how we comply with that. And then would be a good idea about talking about, after the overview of how we do our procurements, the delegated authority. So I don't know if you want to have the training ahead of time and then do the delegated authority on the February 15th meeting. I think that would probably be the best flow. And then we could come up with, well, here's what the comptroller's office has delegated down to agencies, and then a review of how many procurements we have in just those different batches or contracts we have in those different batches of, anything over 500,000 a year, anything over 100,000 a year, and then anything in between, for the commission to think about what level of involvement they would want to be in regarding the actual procurements.
So this is an area where Derek and I've discussed, and I said, well, at least I'm consistent, and I'd like to get it settled, because it's really important for our risk assessment and our risk matrix, how we address procurements and whether or not we want to establish a threshold, as Derek just pointed out, whether it's dollars or based on a certain policy. I think Derek and I are both familiar with dollar thresholds. Right now, there isn't one, as I understand it, for the MGC. And so I guess I'm going to turn to Todd. Is this a matter for training versus public presentation? And would a procurement on training be the best approach? What do you think?
I think certainly some background in it will be helpful. So as Derek laid it out, I think that does make good sense that we at least try to put that plan into place and schedule a training so everyone has the background before we delve into what the policy should look like. So I think that does make sense. As for the timing of it all, I hadn't really thought about that yet and whether that's a little too ambitious or not, but that it sounds okay as we sit here today.
I don't know if we decided timing either. I just want to make sure it's a legitimate training so that we can actually ask questions. That's fine, right?
Well, the questions, even if it's a training, you have to be careful with. It's one thing to be at a training, and but once you start asking a lot of questions, it can transform it. So that's the problem with that.
What do you think, Derek? Want to give us some thought?
I think that the training is pretty straightforward, right? We're going to be going over what 801 CMR 21 says, what rules we're abiding by regarding OSD's Procurement Information Center and how we try to leverage the information they have. And we have a pretty good PowerPoint as well as a few Word documents that flow through that. It may have some questions, right? Some questions may arise around why thresholds have changed over the years, about what level OSD has put out as a small or large procurement. But I don't think they get into any true policy discussions because we're just following someone else's policy, right? We're following another regulation in OSD's policy. The big piece will be after the training, when you want to discuss what our delegated authority levels are, and then any of the recommendations we may be bringing forward as far as how to determine best value in our procurements. Because one of the things that we do plan on bringing forward is the whole intentional diversity spend, and where we could do a better job, or not a better job, but maybe be a little more aggressive than the executive branch tends to be.
Is this, maybe this will make me more comfortable, Derek, because of course I'm wondering if this is something that could just be done in our public sessions. But is it a training that'll be conducted from internal assets or by like the comptroller's office?
Internal assets.
Okay. Commissioners, what do you think? Should we do it in the public section so we don't have to worry about questions asked? And get it done? I see Brad did give a thumbs up to that. Commissioner O'Brien, what do you think?
I can go either way. I can sit through the training and then we can mark it up for follow-up questions, or we can do it all at once. I have no preference. Whatever's easier for staff.
Commissioner Hill, I kind of like the idea of it being a public discussion, but Commissioner Skinner, what do you think?
Yeah, I defer to staff, whatever's easier.
Yeah, I think it could be, interestingly enough, I think we're all comfortable asking the questions and learning, and, you know, the fact that you have that training all together, Derek, is great. So I'm going to let you decide what date you would want to do that. You know, we've got
Todd and I will talk about it because there's a little bit more follow-up if we do it all at once. Because then we'll have to have that discussion about the delegated authority after.
I don't mind if we separate it out still, like
Okay.
if we do the setting of the stage discussion on one day and then roll it over to policy discussions to another day. It might be that way we can digest it and you know, get like detailed questions answered that we might have thought of afterwards, and then come back to the more complicated policy discussion. Does that make sense? Do it a two-step process. Commissioner, that's fine, right? Yeah, I see Eileen is nodding too, so that might work. So just if you could think about the dates, that would be great. You wanted to go full? Okay, good.
While I'm on camera, can I ask for another item on the 15th?
And then I was going to turn to your next one.
Quarterly budget update, which I think would actually be good timing since we'd be bringing forward the Attorney General's Office ISA for sports wagering at the same time too, which might have some fiscal implications. So I think that would be good timing. And then we can just go over some other things that have popped up, like the RSM budget updates.
Great. So what we'll do, because you raised a really good point, is make sure to have your discussion precede our discussion of the ISA. Does that make
Correct.
sense? Okay. All right. Anything else, commissioners? Or team for? Let me just
Madam
see.
Chair?
Yeah.
So we do need to schedule quarterly reports for our licensees for the fourth quarter. So I was hoping to do all three of those on February 15th. And if you recall, the fourth quarter report, we also have our licensees give their update on CapEx, which needs to be done in executive session. So just as a matter of convenience, it might make sense to do all three of them on the same day. So I'd like to propose those happen on the 15th. I haven't reached out to our licensees yet, but I'd like to at least get that, get a placeholder in there for that.
Looks like a good day for it.
Yeah. And the other thing that we did last year, which we would again request this year on an annual basis, is an update on their impacted live entertainment venue agreements.
Oh, yeah.
So last year we just got a kind of a verbal update from them on status, and I think we would ask them to tell us what they've done again this year.
And that would be public.
I think that certainly could be public. Yeah, I don't recall if we did that in executive session or a public session last year. We'd have to look back on that.
Can I have?
But I mean, those are public agreements, and
Yeah. Todd, I'll have you coordinate with Joe on that.
Yeah,
please.
we will talk about that.
Just look back, and we can probably just do exactly what we did last year. That would be really helpful to have. Thanks. Case. Anything else from the team? February 15th would be.
Chair, I'm not sure for what date, and I know this is under review, but I know that as Joe's bringing up quarterly reports, it now is making me think. We had discussed getting a little more information on the underage reporting and proxy wagering prior to the next set of quarterly reports. So that may be something we want to put on in February.
Yes. So Crystal, you and I spoke about that, and we can turn to it right now. So if you recall, several of our operators offered at their last quarterly reports to engage in explaining their tactics on ensuring KYC measures and guarding against proxy betting, and explaining their tactics, and that they would do it in executive session. They would have to do it separately because otherwise they would be sharing their own tactics. So Crystal and I thought about it. She was going to reach out to the operators, and it might be one where, if in fact every operator were given the opportunity and to share their tactics and have us understand that, it might be a good chunk of time. It might be as much as 3 to 4 hours. So we thought that might be a meeting that we would, or a series of executive sessions that would require a different date rather than including it in one of our previously scheduled public meetings. How do you feel about that? I think it's an important discussion. Commissioner Hill, I think you were really looking for that. Commissioner O'Brien, Commissioner Skinner, what are you thinking? I'm seeing nodding. So we'll just have Trudy and Crystal work to find a 3 to 4 hour window. Crystal, I think you felt that it wouldn't be a requirement, commissioners, to hear from every operator, unless you want it to be a requirement to hear from every operator. I think I think it really came up in the second series of quarterly reports where they offered, but Crystal, I think you were suggesting that most would want to participate.
I haven't heard that anyone wouldn't be interested, but
But they have circled back to you on this issue, so.
Yes, absolutely.
They know it's an issue, and and I guess if we get more information, that will inform work going forward. All right, so I'm not hearing any objections to that. So Crystal, Trudy will look for a date where we can get, and then of course, the same thing for Commissioner Skinner and Commissioner Hill on the IEB director search, if that needs a different date. Okay. Anything else for February 15th? Mark, you weighed in, but are you all set? I don't see anything for you on that date. Okay. All right, then we'll go to under review. I love will keep on under review, I assume.
Yes.
Get a little bit of information on that, on the contracts. Same with compliance. Commissioner O'Brien, once you guys get out from under your interviews, I assume that you and that there'll be a revival of the compliance. Oh, compliance isn't really the word, but it's almost like the risk assessment group as you.
It's almost like an audit and compliance committee, the way like private boards would have. That's that concept.
Well, that's what you're thinking. I actually have concerns about that because of the open meeting law. So that's separate. But the other working group that has been really a working group since I've been there, it helps do the risk assessment. And
that's different.
Yeah, that's different. And but it's reminding me because of just the discussion we had with Derek that going forward, you'll probably be needing that meeting to come back together so that Derek can do his work on the ICP. Okay, great.
Yep.
The HCA.
That's ongoing.
Ongoing, okay. That restriction issue, is that ongoing, Director
Yes,
Dan?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Same with the question around treatment of confidential information. I know that that's addressed somewhat in our legislative letter. Looking for a little relief there, but is that ongoing as well, number 5?
Yeah, there's not a specific thing that we're really working on. It's really just an issue that we're confronting at the moment. So we can keep it here, but there's no deliverable at the moment.
Okay. All right, I'm just looking at my notes, my apologies. Okay, so we'll keep that on, but if you decide you want to take it off altogether, would it be better to take it off altogether, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something we're constantly thinking about, so we will not lose sight of it, of course. But yeah, I at the moment, and Crystal, feel free to jump in if you have different thoughts, but we're not putting anything together specifically on this point. It was just one we wanted to bring to the commission's attention to let you know that these issues do arise.
I think I saw some information come over from Monica just yesterday, actually, in what their actual requests are for this component. So I think we've gotten to the point where we know what we're looking for, but haven't had that next set of feedback. But yes, I think that's the case. We're really just presenting that there have been challenges addressed in this particular reporting component.
Okay. I think we'll take it off now until it gets a little bit more precise. Then we have the 2 screening committees. We got a little bit of an update on number 8 on the IEB director, so I'll keep it under review for now, Commissioner Skinner. What about the executive director? I understand you got your interviews. What are you thinking in terms of timing, Commissioner O'Brien?
I would keep it under review. there's a likelihood there'll be an update of more substance by the 1st of February.
Okay, great. And we have a agenda setting meeting in between too. So that's all right. And then the annual report, Mills and Dave, thank you for your work. And of course, it started with Grace. Do you want to just report on what we've discussed, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Jared, I'd like to kick this over to Dave Souza for a quick update on the annual report, Dave, if you don't mind.
Sure thing. Thanks, Tom. So we have our latest draft is going out to Jackrabbit today. I'm hoping it's going to be our final draft. There might be a few things to clean up after the fact, but looking good, probably good to stay under review, and we should have a better update. I think on the 24th agenda setting meeting, we should really know the state of if it's going to be good to go for the start of February.
Okay, and the process that you're contemplating that we've done in the past is that this will be in really readable form with the graphics, right, Dave? And then
it should look just like we have in the past.
And then distributed to the commissioners for their review. And then at a next date, there would be an adoption unless there's a lot of express changes, right? Is that what you're imagining?
Yep.
And I see Mills shaking his head.
Yeah, and thanks to Dave for carrying the ball on that. I know you said it started with Grace, and absolutely Grace got us to a really good place. And thanks to the whole team for getting their materials in, because we couldn't do it without the information that everybody provided.
Yeah. So Commissioner O'Brien, were you weighing in? Oh, okay. Yeah. So again, good reminder. Every division provides the information, and that's a big piece of work. Probably a good time to also reflect on all that's been accomplished, but thank you to every member of the leaders of the division using your teams to help get that information to Grace before she left, so thank you. Then we have the escrow issue. Good morning, Dr. Lightbow.
Good morning. Yeah, if we can just keep that under review for now.
Okay. Joe, I've been sending you emails.
Yes, you have, indeed. So we'll keep that under review for now. We expect a decision from NEPA in the next couple of weeks. That is, all of the comments were due back on the environmental impact report on Monday, hence the flurry of emails. So yeah, we'll just keep that under review. We've had some meetings with our outside counsel to talk about Section 61 findings and things like that. So we're doing what we can on our side of the ledger, but we don't have an application yet from Encore, so that would be really kind of the next step.
All right. And then the emails that I sent are just community comments that.
Yeah, there seem to be a number of comments regarding the proposed pedestrian bike bridge across the river and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just stay tuned until you hear more.
Yep.
All right. Carrie, on number 12 on the advertising restrictions, at one point, I know Caitlin, you and I had spoken, and you were contemplating, and I'm sure Carrie now knows this, that there would be some updating to the advertising restrictions and perhaps one specific section. I believe, but I'm not sure, that those tweaks or those changes might address something that I think all of us are thinking about. And I'd like to have it more formally put on for under review. And that's how we're going. I know that we've thought about it in conjunction with review of one licensee, but I'd like to look at it more globally. And that's how we can put up through our own regulation, clear guidelines or guardrails against line manipulation as the sports books begin to, and already, as we've expressed in our meetings, are acting also in concert with a contracted party or otherwise as content providers. That's a stressor. It's one that's now very much a national discussion. And to the extent our regulation could be improved to provide those guardrails, I'd like for us to think about that. Commissioners, I don't know what you're thinking, but Caitlin, based on our earlier discussion, I don't know if Carrie has that update. Would you say that that was already underway, or would that be an expansion of work underway?
I can let Carrie jump in here, but yeah, that is well underway. It's very high on our priority list for regs. Carrie's now going to be taking the lead on those things, but I'm still involved with that one. But yeah, Carrie, I'll let you jump in there.
Great, Carrie. I didn't want to put you on the spot unfairly, so
No,
thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, I think we are hoping to have that coming back to the commission in mid or late February. We're working, there may be some changes to a couple of other regs that, where there are pieces that work in conjunction. So we're just working on bundling all of that together. So if we could keep it under review today, and then at perhaps the next agenda setting could add it to a date, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I know that you thought perhaps something for February 15th because of its import. To the extent we can get that done, at least a first view of it, that would be great.
Sure.
Commissioners, any questions on that? Okay. All right, so we'll keep it under review. And then, Crystal, your quarterly reports would be, I think, separate from the other discussion.
I've already sent a brief request to Trudy just now, actually, so that we can get dates, probably late February, early March.
Commissioners, we still want those quarterly reports. I see Commissioner Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Commissioner O'Brien, and it seemed to work. We did it 2 days, right? That seemed pretty workable. So thank you for coordinating that. Any questions on that? All right, anything else for under review?
So, Madam Chair, I have something. Crystal forwarded us an email about a proposed Ohio regulation in connection with promos that give you non-gaming related materials. And Fanatics had given some comments back to Ohio. I've had a couple of emails back and forth. I'd like to put this on review for a more fulsome conversation, because during the application process for Fanatics, we all asked a lot of questions about how they use their retail side demographic information and how were they going to make sure they weren't marketing to under 21. I'm intrigued by the Ohio reg, and then I'm also intrigued by Fanatics' sort of response to it. And so I would like there to be more of a briefing and conversation on the concept of the Ohio reg, but then also maybe some further questions of Fanatics on how they're making sure they're not marketing to under 21.
Right. We did have a lot of discussion on that. Commissioner O'Brien. I know that I'm not sure if Fanatics is the only.
No, I'm not saying they're not. It's what brought it to my attention, though, was the Ohio reg, and they specifically had pointed out the issues that they had with it and some of the ways that they appear to be, screening. Is it affirmative? I think the Ohio reg would require affirmative proof of 21 plus, as opposed to maybe a good faith effort that you're not going to under 21, and there is a difference there. So I'd like to understand the Ohio reg a little bit more, and then what's been going on in practice with all the.
So let's think about how we approach this. Perhaps we have Carrie and team go through the Ohio reg first with us to digest it.
Yeah.
And it will probably also trigger. We did have a lot of questions for Fanatics. I mean, the wedding of their long-standing merchandise industry with sports betting, and the need to make sure that they weren't using sports betting in a way that encouraged, either way, intersectionality with the minor or ineligible wagerer. So it's a good question. Let's start with that maybe to begin with, and then decide if we bring Fanatics itself in for it, or do we actually work on our own reg?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
good. All right, I think that's good. Carrie and Todd, does that sound all right? Maybe Crystal will make sure to, if you aren't familiar, but I'm assuming you are with this development, you guys will get all up to date. Again, I think these are important developments that we're seeing that we need to address in our regs. And so let's stay on top of it as these issues come down the line. All right, we'll keep it under review for now. Maybe at the next one, Carrie, you can update us on that as well.
Sure.
Anything else then under for review?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I have two research items. First is the follow-up general population survey report. And the second one is the evaluation of the GameSense program.
Mm-hmm. And right now, just keep it under review, those under review.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, Mark. Oh, I see Bruce waving his hand, but it's because he's on the phone. Anything else? All right. Great. Thanks, everyone. Fulsome meeting. Appreciate it. Todd, you're all set? Okay, Trudy, you all set? Good. All right. Then we need him. Thanks to Dave Souza today for his update. Appreciate it. And I need a motion to adjourn. Yep.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skipper.
Aye.
I vote yes, 4-0. Thanks, everyone. I'll convene now.